to start the legs. So the way this works, we need 8 legs total. There are actually 2 patterns. They're just striped. So we're going to have leg A and leg B. You're going to do 2 with the blue and the brown yarn, 2 with the blue and the white yarn, just replacing the blue rounds with, just replacing the brown rounds with the white yarn. So the blue stays the same for everything. So you're going to do 2 brown, 2 white of leg A, 2 brown, 2 white of leg B. So we're going to do leg A first. We're going to use blue and brown yarn to do it. And again, you're going to use the blue and white later. Same pattern, just switch the color out. We need to start with a magic circle. And the first few rounds we have are both going to be using this blue yarn and are going to be both loops. Eventually we'll switch to just the back loop, or you can do everything both loops, depends on what you want it to look like. So for our magic circle, wrap the yarn around, cross it, and back down. You can kind of hold it with your other fingers, flip it over. If I grab the correct size hook. Under the first one, grab the second one, bring it up, tighten your yarn up a little bit, and a single crochet closes it off. So for our magic circle, we want 4 single crochet this time, not 6. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You have all 4 in there. Go ahead and pull the tail to bring the 2 ends together. This is not gonna lay flat. This is gonna be a tube, kind of like a tentacle, or the finger to a glove. So don't worry about tightening it up all the way. Just go ahead and bring the 2 ends together. We're gonna pull this yarn over, and now we are going to do for round 1 an increase in every stitch. So this will bring us up to 8 stitches total. So it's always tough to get that first one started. Oh, and of course I split the yarn here, so let me get my hook out. Did a good job there. We're going to do an increase, so 2 single crochet in the first. It's 1, 2. Again, let this sort of curve in. It helps if you sort of push it just on your finger. Another increase, so this is 3. And 4. 5. And 6. Last one. 7 and 8. All right, I'm gonna stop for a second. Again, remember it's gonna start forming this. You want to grab that tail, tighten it up as much as it can. I'm going to go ahead and use a needle to go around the stitches and tie this off, because again, I don't want these breaking open later. Go ahead and do that, and then I'll catch you to finish up the rest of these blue rounds in this first section. All right, so we're going from 8 stitches to 12 in round number 2. See if I can get this to continue pointing down. All right, we're going to stick with the blue yarn. We are going to continue with both loops for at least a little bit longer, and we're going to do for this round 1 single crochet followed by an increase. So that's 1. My increase are stitches 2 and 3. So I have 4, so single crochet. 5 and 6 are my increase. And again, it's starting to make this sort of cone shape. Stitch number 7 is a single crochet. Eight and 9 are the increase. 10 is a single crochet. And my last one, 11 and 12 are my increase. So that is round 2. We're done. Again, we're sort of getting this cone shape. This is the tail from the magic circle. I'm just going to start to sort of wind that in the center and try to leave it there. Again, I did the stitch or the tail around inside the stitches and tied a knot on it to try to secure it the best I could. All right, so we're going to continue to round number 3. Just hop right into it. We want to go from 12 to 16 stitches, and we're just going to increase the number of single crochets by 1. So we did 1 with an increase, now we're doing 2 with an increase. So stitch number 1 and 2, my single crochets. Stitch number 3 and 4, that's the increase. 5 and 6, those are 2 single crochet. 7 and 8, that's my increase, so 2 in the same. 7 and 8 right into the same stitch. 9 and 10 are single crochet, so 9, 10. My increase are 11 and 12, so 2 in the same. Last repeat, stitch number 13 and 14. Those are my single crochets, and now I could have started it in earlier, but I'm just going to go ahead and join it in the last stitch, which I can do. We're going to grab the brown yarn and join that in. Remember, we have the increase left. That's the last stitch we have to do in this round. So let me grab my yarn. Try not to drop it off the table. And I'm going to go ahead and join this in now. So we're just going to go around it. This is the first stitch in the increase. That is stitch number 15. I'm going to shorten it up so I don't have as long of a tail. This is the last one, 16, last stitch in the round. I'm going to start it. At that point, I'm going to drop the blue yarn, pick up the brown, and finish it there. So you don't have to start the yarn, 10 or 12 stitches ahead. It's just sort of easier to do that when you're doing this for the first time. When you're done it a bit more and feel more comfortable, you can join that yarn in on the stitch you need it. It's really, or at least the stitch before. You always have to join the yarn in, switch the yarn in, and stitch before, so you can do it then. All right, so we're going to continue on with the brown rounds. They come next. So we're continuing with the leg. A couple of changes happen now. First, we're switching to the brown yarn. We're going to drop the blue yarn. I'm not going to bother holding it in the stitches because frankly, we're not going to be using it. All of these for the legs, they're just stripes. So the whole round is going to be the same color. So I don't need to carry it in the stitches. Since we're only 16 stitches around, it really is going to go quickly. I'm just going to go ahead and let it hang in the middle and just join it up when I need it. So for right now, I'm just dropping the yarn, keeping it somewhat out of my way. And I'm going to use the brown yarn. I am going to hold the tail of the brown yarn in the stitches just to secure it, but after that, that's going to be the only time we're really holding or carrying yarn inside stitches. The other change, other than changing the color, is for this one and the rest from now on, I'm going to do back loop only. So we are going to do 4 entire rounds with the brown yarn. So 16 stitches around. 1, 2, holding the tail just to secure it. 3, grab the whole back loop. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, halfway, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So the reason I count them out that first time especially is to make sure I have 16 stitches. From this point on, I don't tend to count the stitches in the round. I just do it every once in a while, like especially if I switch yarn, just to make sure I haven't dropped anything or picked something else up. We want to have 16 from now on through the rest of the whole tentacle. So that's one round. Again, I'm just leaving my blue variegated yarn in the middle. I'm just ignoring that, trying not to get it knotted up, but other than that, I just pretend like it doesn't exist. And you need 4 rounds of the blue total. So keep going until you have 4 rounds. Back loop only just gives us these little ridges of the loops, which I think looks more like the body, so that's what I do. But go with what you feel comfortable with. From this point on, I'm not really counting, you know, this is technically round 4. We're going to do 5, 6, and 7 also brown, but at this point I'm just counting the number of rounds we're doing, not each individual numbered round, so I won't be giving those out, if that makes sense. Anyway, 4 rounds in brown. You got the first one done, 3 more, and then come back. So I have my 4 brown rounds, 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is where I joined. Now I'm hoping it was obvious since I said there were 4 brown, that meant to switch back to the blue variegated yarn at the end of the 4th one. If not, I apologize for not stating it just outright. Go ahead and undo that stitch if you need to, and make sure you switch back to the blue yarn at the end of the 4th round. And a note about counting stitches and completing the rounds. If you want to just follow from the color change to see when a round ends, just make sure you notice, here's the last of the variegated to the first of the brown. That means that's where my round ends and the next one begins. When looking up, they actually kind of go over at a diagonal. So it's not straight up, it's a little bit over. Now, sometimes that's really easy to see with the yarn. This yarn between the variegated here and the sort of shiny with the brown, I have a horrible time seeing where the individual stitches are. So if you need to, feel free to go and use a stitch marker or a little piece of yarn to mark where the rounds end and begin, just to make it easier for you to follow. So if you need that, go for it. Otherwise, just be careful making sure that you complete entire rounds of 16 and don't have a few extra, a few end less. It's just gonna throw off where you end up putting the suckers for the tentacles, because that's what we're doing next. So we're going to go back and forth between the brown and the variegated the whole time. I'm not cutting yarn until the very end. So since we're doing blue, I'm just going to drop the brown, ignore it basically, try not to get it knotted up with my work. But other than that, I don't care. And this next round, we're going to do the first of the little suckers on the end of the tentacle. So to start off, we need 12 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, just keep that brown yarn out of your way. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now I'm not done with the round. As you see, I've just gotten most of the way through. I still have these 4 brown stitches left. For the next stitch, we're going to do a puff stitch, and that's going to be the sucker on the bottom here. So again, we're not going to go into the next round. We're going to go 1 round down and grab the front loop there, just like we did when we did the puff stitches on the body. So yarn over, grab that front loop down here, draw up a loop, and bring it up to the top. Again, I'm only going to do that 4 times total instead of 5 because they tend to be big enough for what we need here. You want to stick to tradition and do 5, that's great. You want to go with 4 like me, go with that. So that was 1, yarn over, draw up a loop 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over and bring it through all the stitches. At the end, just like we did before, go ahead and do your single crochet. That tightens it up. So that little bauble there is going to be the sucker for the tentacle. Like we did with the body, you want to skip the next stitch here, that brown stitch, and go into the one after that. And we're going to finish this round with 3 single crochet. And you notice that brings us to the last brown stitch. And we have the first of what will be 6 per tentacle puff stitches right there. So that's this round. Next round coming up.